Hey people, I told you I found this word mummifize in the Hebrew Bible. They give it another meaning, but I know that's what it's talking about because in the same chapter it talks about the Valley of the Kings, and it uses the word Saqqara. That's the land 15 miles south of Cairo, and it's the location of the tombs and pyramids dating to the pre-dynastic Old Kingdom. So that lets me know that this book was written, after that. And it's telling a story of a guy who was in prison there, and he was forced to work on the rock, busting rocks, digging caves. But it was this word, mummifize, that caught my eye. Those who seek deep had me look into this. And so I studied it in both the Greek Bibles. It's the Septuagint and the Byzantine, I believe. And you can see that they changed it. This is all the same, and they added this whole line in here in this later Bible. And there's little small discrepancies where they change words. And so the only reason I look at this other Bible is to get their interpretation. It helps break it out. But you have to have all these marks in this Bible in order to read this. You can't get anything out of this. So this is how, this is correct here, the work. The connected work is how things get done, how, and then em, them, and the dot, two M's, mummifize. And so this they call the final M is an S when it's on the end. I figured that out a long time ago. And when I did, I figured that these other final letters had the same effects, similar effect. And I didn't force anything on it. I was just waiting for it to come to me. But lately, the last couple of movies, I told you this N was an I. But I figured out here that this final N is an M. I figured it out while reading this chapter. This is the word that I was searching when I found this. Was this one that looks like heaven, Hevin. But I knew that wasn't an N. And this word really threw me off trying to figure out what it was. But it's an M. But I figured it out in another word up here. Was up here in 5. And they try to totally opposite all the words. In Greek they say nay means yes and we means no. They try to give opposite meanings. They really try to throw you off. But this is EMU in the end. So the way it's reading here with this mark, it's the, and then ME, and then the other way, NUM. And then U, and it's an M when it's on the final. And so it's not the multitude, it's the minimum. The minimum is what it says. The minimum, the least amount you had to have, the minimum. And what it's talking about here is how they're feeding him in the jail. He's getting the minimum. Or it sees way of putta footas. They say this is a P, or they say this is a F and it's a P with a dot in it, and I'm pretty sure they got that backwards. But either way, it's of the foot, to see, put as, or it's to put, see the foot as. Pata, of pata patas, and it's a foot in the ass, of put a foot as. And that's an ancient German saying. I used to have a German neighbor when I was a kid growing up, and that's what he would tell us. You screw up and I'll put a foot in your ass. And so it talks about this Ariel, this angel Ariel, several times in this chapter. It starts with it, Ariel, Ariel. And then it comes up a couple more times, of Ariel. And Ariel is overhead. And that's what it's talking about in all backwards and forwards, the layer of Ariel. And it's talking about all the soldiers that were on top of the canyon up on the plain looking down. And you weren't escaping because if you got by the ones on the ground, the tool drivers, you had to get away from the Ariel that was overhead watching. And they were the ones that was burning the fire. They were burning the fire up there. And so it's how them mummifies, and then M from you, Jewe. And so this U, there's several ways of writing U. An affectionate term is just a YU, but this is like a legal term. If and that's what this is. It's legal documents, you know. And if you do this, you know, and if you did that, it's like the lesser and the lessee that you find in legal terms. You know, as if you were in court and it was called the assailant. You know, you were the one that got beat up. And so don't call you by name, you know, the assailant. You know, and the assassin is the one that's putting the bullet in you. And so who them mummifies from you the list, LST, the list, and then backwards after this mark, you know, to sell, SLR, to seller. You know, the list to seller, the ones that's going down in the cellar. You know, the list, the seller to rot, ROTSE, to rot C. Way in mass. And most C's, you know, MO is, you see a lot of Greek words, they say that it's which is from. That which is from cease, decease, to stop motion. The from cease, to stop. And then, you know, Y is how, and then backwards is you. And this is YU, and this is an affectionate term, you know, when you talk with somebody you love, but it's still, you know, it's a word for you. How you, where, may, yammer to speak to, who see us, the MIRA, the mirror knew, the ones who the mirror knew. It's people who were beautiful, you know, the ones who's talking to the mirror knew they were beautiful. They talked to the mirror, you know, and my, and me, make, you know, yod, the hand, to make Adana. You know, so the nose kind of goes over here. Why you where may speak to mirror, MIRA, to mirror, knew. You know, the mirror knew you. This nose goes over here. The mirror knows you because you're there all the times looking at it. And to my work, Adana is more to the seas. You know, to the ones that I made, that God made, to make Adana, to make them beautiful. And so it's talking about these people here. You always see them with this ankh in their hand. And this is a Egyptian symbol that means a mirror. That's why your grandma's mirror, her little hand mirror, used to look like that. And it also means death. It's the obit. One of my best selling movies. It's a long one. I explain this well. But that's where your word obituary come from. It's the obit. It means life. It also means death. And it means beautiful, beauty. You know, nobody told them but the gods and the kings. But there's better chances that these are actors playing his role. And the mask is to let you know which god this is. And they would be on stage using the symbolism. And the same as today, you know, when we die 1,000 years down the road, people are going to look at what we left behind and they're going to think Hollywood was the kings. So when the god touches your face with the ankh, it means he gave you beauty. How them mummifies from you the list, to cellar it rots away. You know, ROTSE way, rots away. In mask, you in your mask rotting away. Most cease, from stop, deceased. Why you to where may yammer, to mirror knew I was beautiful. To the mirror I knew. To my make Adana to make Adana, to make a dawn. I'm the one that to made you to adorn the beauty. The mirror knows you. So they got the whole story twisted, but you see it mainly here in the first time this Aved comes up. OVD. When Cain was a tiller of the ground. And the same word, the next time it comes up, that's it means slave. Laborers, serve, bond service, he who tills. But here they say, it's a slave at forced labor, and became a band of slaves, is the Oved. But in the Greek, in the same line, they say, seeing the rest that it was good in the earth, that it was plentiful, he placed his shoulder to the toil. He did it because he saw it was good, not because he was a forced slave and became a man of farming. But they'll also say this Oved just means made and has done. And they'll give it another word number and say it means servant. And then with another word number, 5650, shall be my slave, just Oved. Abidit, abed, to serve a slave. But you see better here in when Canaan was cursed as a child, he was a pay-as. You don't see it here. You have to look at the other Bible. It has all the marks. And the next line, this is now a servant. The child is the servant, the pay-as. You can see it with all the marks here. And this one means to go back and grab the last letter. So it's, P-A-Y. And then you go back and grab the last letter, A-as, the pay-as. This is where they said it's a child. But it's the same word here. The pay-as, P-A-Y, and then back A-S, the pay-as, is now the servant. So they're getting paid, the pay-as. Canaan, the servant, the pay-as. And this other word you'll find for it is paid. In the New Testament, you'll find it here is paid, P-A-I-D, but it's the pay-ad-as, the pay-ad-as. But people didn't understand how to read this mark, they just read that as paid as. The pays and the paid as. But they say it's the same word for a boy, child, men, servant, or slaves, or your son. But this is what an Oved is, and it means the O, the ion, B is in the delta, the I in the delta, O-B-D. But right now we got a band of servants, a band of slaves, and they're trying to destroy all our ancient symbols so we can't figure this out. We can't figure out our history. But I was telling you that this is either 4 G's or 2 fishes. Your feet are the fishes. But also the letter G represents the foot. 4 G's. And you'll often find this symbolism on the foot of Buddha. People tattooed it on their feet. They knew what it meant. And the 2 fish is the crossed fish. Nazis. They're not Z's, they're N's. They're 2 fish. And they try to force this bullshit story over these ancient writings while they help the slave owners to hide our history, to destroy all our history, all our ancient markings, so we'll never figure this out. And they try to flip this story, because they were in a bid. They were abides. They were paid in OBD. In a bid. It was their service. They was working along with the government that was keeping the rest of us in bondage. And you see it in this word for HeBrew is O-V-R-I, overwork, the ovary, the ones that were over. And you can see it in the HeBrew, the over it. This is the same word for the covenant here is the B-R-I-T, in writ. Oh, the over writ. You can see it in the word they give the Hebrew language. And it means overwrit. It just means they overwrit the story. You can see it in this word for rage, is a brute. B-R-U-T. O-B-R-U-T. The over what was the brutes. And you see it in this word for the covenant, is the Brit. B-R-I-T. The British. Means in writ. In the writing is a covenant. In writ. So this next line that comes after, how them mummifies from you the list, to cellar to rots away in mask. Most cease, from cease, the mush, motion, everything has to do with moving, M-O, the must cease. How you where may yammer to, how you where may speak to, Mira new, and my make a dawn too, and I'm the one. God's talking here. And then the pictures, and so this C without the dot, sometimes they give it the CH, and it's the same as the shin. Letter shin having the dot on the right side gives it a SH or a SE, and here it's just a S. So this is the same. It's not necessarily a CH after this. It could be a E. And so it's the pictures. The pictures from, the ones that were in the movies. The pictures from, the pictures on the wall. And then are much calmer. The pictures from are much calmer. Heiser. This is where your word Budweiser comes from. You'll see it again lower here. The Heiser. And it's where your suffix I-Z-E-R come from. Heiser. It means a creator. An Heiser. The Heiser. Each sieve. The creator, each sieve. Each receive. Each sieve. To give Rama, yammer. To give, to see into, right backwards, Rama. To see in, yammer. To word. Mush. Motion. All your words having to do with motion and mush. To mush the dogs. The one hollering mush. To say mush. Loss. Who. And then la. Feminine. Her. And then assign. It's a feminine god. La. Assign. The one that's given the assignments. To mush. Of loss. Who. Her assign. Wiser. The assign wiser. Is where your word Budweiser come from. But the assign maker. The one assigning the jobs. Rama to see in. And then lie what's rule. To assign wiser. To see and lie what's rule. Have 'em. I am is like them. And what's rule, have 'em. And so that's the word I was researching when I found this.
Don't forget. I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.